Or the Ministry of Environment and Forest Forest and Climate Change, the central level. So we need to get the EIA study through the reputed accredited consultants. That may be a private company or a research institute. So QCI has two major accreditation division for EIA aspect, especially. One is the NABET and the other is the NABL, that is NABL. NABET is for the technical professionals who conduct the EIA with a combination of so many experts, experts from a group of organizations. So that particular technical professionals will be accredited with the NABET. So a NABL is the laboratory that will analyze the samples of the project site. So only this accredited laboratory can do the sample analysis for EIA studies. Other than the non-accredited laboratories cannot undertake sample analysis for EIA studies. Only the NABL accredited in association with that with one more accreditation by the MOEF. So normally any EIA monitoring laboratories will have two certificates. One is the NABL certificate and the other is the MOEF certificate. That is the MOEF recommendations as well. So a small glimpse on the process of QCI, like how this process will be done. So for getting the NABET accreditation, any organization that is the accredited consultant organization, this is the term that is used by the QCI. So if any organization is accredited with the NABET, then that organization will be called as the accredited consultant organizations, ACO. So that consultant organization must have an EIA coordinator for sector-specific areas. For example, if the project is being done for mining, so that organization should have an EIA coordinator on accredited with mining sector. So I will elaborate every aspect in further. So the next to the EIA coordinator, an associate EIA coordinator. Sometimes, in some cases, there will be there, but not in all the cases. There is not necessary that an associate EIA coordinator should be there. Then the functional area expert, then functional area associates, team member, and the mentors. So basically, EIA coordinator, FAEs, FAA, team member, and mentors will be there in any of the EIA study. Okay. So this is the version 3 latest manual that we need to follow for getting the accreditation of NABET. Similarly, there is a separate manual for NABL as well. So you need to go through that. If you have a laboratory facility and you are willing to do the sample analysis for EIA projects, then you need to follow that NABL manual. So for undertaking the EIA study, you need to follow this NABET accreditation manual, version 3. And this is the link you can just refer to get this document, or you can just search in the NABET website. You can get this document. So what this manual says is the general process of getting the NABET accreditation with some criteria, major criteria. For example, for any organization, if they are applying for getting the NABET accreditation, you should have the specific team. That is the team for EIA coordinator, functional area experts, functional area associates, team members, and so on. And similarly, the laboratory. So the laboratory, either you can have it in-house, which means you can have your own laboratory for your company, or you can just tie up with any of the other laboratories that are having this NABL accreditation. So that way you can do. So both ways are acceptable by the MOEFCC as well as QCI process. So any accreditation will have three major processes here. One is the application process, assessment process, and next is the office assessment process and the decision making process. So when you do this accreditation process with any with the committee, so once you are submitting your application forms, this application forms will have the individual as well as the organization wise. So both application forms, there will be some 4 or 5 set of application forms for individuals like EA coordinator. There is a separate application form. A functional area expert, there is a separate application form. Functional area associates, there is a separate application form. And then as a whole organization, there is a separate application form. So along with that, detailed experience says for a EIA coordinator, he has already experience with so many projects in similar case studies, whether he is applying for mining division or thermal power plant sector or the River Valley project, whatever. So he should have some kind of experience on that project. So there is a limitation for each and everything. So once you are submitting the application forms to the QC NABET, depends upon your accreditation. They have divided that process into 3 major types. That is the initial assessment, then the surveillance assessment, and the re-accreditation process. So if an organization is applying as a fresh for getting the QCI NABET accreditation, then you will accreditation process, which will have an accreditation of certificate validity for 3 years. And once you get the certificate of initial accreditation for your company as well as your experts, that validity you will have 3 years, but you will have an intermediate audit that is called the surveillance audit. So surveillance assessment they will do after completion of 1.5 years. After getting the certification of 3 years, validity of 3 years. So after completing 1.5 years, you will have a surveillance audit by the NABET, for which again you need to apply all the application forms saying that after from the date of getting the certificate, you have done so many studies with so many cases of each. That is the case-wise proof that you need to submit. Like the EA coordinator has have executed these many works, and the functional experts for each cases, they have contributed with their work for assessing the baseline or assessing the impact. So all these cases they will analyze for giving the accreditation certification. So if you see the functional area experts, as per the NABET, there are about 12 categories they have divided for giving the functional area experts. So functional area experts are the experts who are really going to the field for their expertise wise. For example, if you see the class 231 and 232 and all, so these each cases are the each functional area experts. That is the functional area experts for land use, air pollution monitoring, prevention and control, meteorology, air quality modeling and protection, water pollution monitoring, prevention and control, ecology and biodiversity, noise and vibration, socioeconomics, hydrology, groundwater and water conservation, geology, soil conservation, risk assessment and hazard management, solid and hazardous waste management. So these are the 12 category of functional area experts that any organization should have for getting the NABET accreditation certificate. In this, based on the sector wise, like if you are applying for mining division, or if you are applying for thermal power plant, so there is a annexure of class by the QC application form says that certain experts you should have in-house, which means a regular employee of your company, and certain experts you can outsource it. That is called the empaneled experts. So in that case, you can divide your expertise for conducting the EIA for getting the NABET accreditation. So as well as the functional area associates also. The functional area associates are the juniors who are recently coming to the field of EIA, like after completion of the course, if they are joining any the EIA consulting company, so they can apply as a functional area associate under the mentor, by giving a mentor as a functional area expert. So the functional area expert has to be an mentor for the functional area associate. The overall EIA study will be controlled by the EIA coordinator. So coming to the experience wise, to get the certification of accreditation, an EIA coordinator should have minimum of 7 years to get accreditation for category A project. Which level? An EIA coordinator should have an experience of minimum 7 years in the EIA process. For category B projects, you need 5 years of experience to become an EIA coordinator. And similarly, for functional area experts, for category B projects, it is 3 years of experience, and for category A projects, it is 5 years of experience. If you meet that year of completion experience years in your specific knowledge, like either you are applying as a land use expert or you are applying as a water pollution expert, so you should have an experience of 3 years to become an FAE for category B projects. So the initial accreditation for a young team will be given as a functional area associates. So once after 3 years, he can apply as functional area expert for category B. After completing 5 years, he can become an functional area expert for category A projects. And as well as he can be an EIA coordinator for any specific sector that he is interested. Okay, so once he completes 7 years of experience in EIA, he can become the EIA coordinator of for category A projects to get the clearance from the central level. Apart from this, the expert-wise professional availability, there are some certain criteria that an organization should meet to get the certification, like your quality management systems. That is the ISO. If your organization is accredited with ISO certification, ISO 9001 certification, then which is normally issued for the quality management system, then it meets your NABET certification as well. Your quality policy, your performance measurements, how you do the analyze your studies and all. So all those things they will analyze whether your system of operation is having a standard operating procedure, that is the SOPs. Then your quality management system will be considered for giving the NABET accreditation. Apart from that, your that's it. So all these things, which means you are individual expert as an FAE, FAA, and EIA coordinator. Apart from that, your quality management system. So all these things they will assess based on the amount of number of sector that you are applying. If you are applying for 2 sectors or 3 sectors, so depends on the time. They will a committee from the NABET, they will visit your office. They will do the assessment, for 2-3 days. For first day, they will assess your individual experts, starting from the FAEs and FAAs and the EIA coordinator. So the next, after completing the assessment of your experts, they will check your quality management systems, how your QMS is being processed, how your documentation is being done. So all those things they will check. So as I said, 3 assessments will be there. One is the initial assessment, then is this the surveillance assessment, and the third is the re-accreditation. So initial certification is valid for 3 years, but after completion of 1.5 years, there will be a surveillance assessment that to understand and to make sure that the organization is meeting the NABET requirement and they are doing the EIA studies properly. So after after completion of 18 months, if you have done any EIA projects within that 1.5 years, you have to submit that EIA as for each sector you have applied for. For example, if an organization has accredited for mining or thermal power plants and you have done for any EIA projects, that EIA you need to submit to the NABET committee along with your application. So they will go through your EIA and thoroughly with all the experts available in the NABET committee. So while visiting your office, they will thoroughly check your EIA line by line. Line by line, they will go through your EIA along with the entire project team for that particular EIA study. All the FAEs should be there, all the functional area associates should be there, along with the EIA coordinator. So EIA coordinator is the prime responsible person if there is any flaws or if there is any mistakes undertaken in the EIA study. So normally, as I said, 3 processes will be there: application for assessment process, office assessment process, and the decision-making process. So application assessment process is, as I said, it is an individual expert analysis process. Office assessment is your QMS and other documentation process. Decision-making is limited to the NABET committee itself. So for each accreditation process, they have given certain amount of marks you need to meet. For example, for the initial assessment, your quality and performance of EIA coordinators and the experts, it has 20 marks. And in surveillance assessment, it has 15 and 10. And in re-accreditation, it has 10 and 10. Like this re-accreditation will be done after completion of that 3 years. Like once before your certification validity is getting to expire, you need to apply to the NABET committee, and then the committee will visit your office. Again, they will do all the assessment like it has done for surveillance assessment. Okay. So if you have done any EIA with major mistakes or major flaws, your category will be removed. So that's how they will recorrect your certification in the re-accreditation process. So if you want to retain your sector, you need to prepare the projects and the EIA project meeting all the criteria of NABET as well as MOEF guidelines. So similarly for your quality management system, they have some certain marks, and similarly for field assessments and laboratories, which means all your experts should visit the site. All your FAEs should visit the site. All your EIA coordinators should visit the site. Some of the organization, just to do for cost cutting, the experts may not visit the site for particular expert wise or the sector wise. Without visiting site, if anybody is doing the report, even if it is a prime data collection, you will be debarred from the certification process, and your certification for the particular sector or the particular expertise will be recategorized as from category A to category B. If you are certified category A functional expert and you have not visited the project site for preparing an EIA, your certification will be debarred for as category B, which means you cannot do EIA projects for category A projects until you recorrect your certification. And this is how a normal certification looks. This is the NABET certification for an organization, where they will mention your organization name here, and below that they will give the sector that the particular organization is approved for. For example, this certification has an accreditation for thermal power plants, metallurgy industries, synthetic organic chemical industries, building and construction projects, and township and area development projects. So these categories are based on our EIA notification 2006. If you have gone through the EIA notification 2006, you can understand on what category these projects are listed here. Okay. So similarly, along with the names of the sector, they will mention whether you can do category A project or category B projects as well. Okay. So if you are not certified for category A, you cannot do the projects for getting clearance from the MOF. And this is the certificate how it looks for NABL for laboratories. They will give along with the validity. Both certificates has a validity for. Okay, so before getting this validity expired, you need to apply and get the re-accreditation. Either it is a NABET or NABL. So once that certification has been issued for any organization, there will be a document published by the QCA NABET every 6 months. This document will be published in their website. You just Google it in the name of NABET accredited consultants. You will get this document. Latest document, you will get it. Okay, you need not to look for any difficulties and all. Just Google it, the NABET accredited consultants. You will get the latest document. So this is the latest document which was published in July 2020. So this is how the document will look. Says that the name of the organization and for which sector that organization is accredited for, and for the name of the sector, whether that is accredited for category A or category B, and as per the MOF, that is the EIA notification, which class that falls off. For example, mine, if you see the NABET, the EIA notification, cement plants will be under classification of 3B. If you see class 3B, it will be for cement plants. But as per the NABET criteria, that sector name is 9. So if you inform any of your client or if you mention any of your report, you should mention this category of sector number along with the EIA sector as well. Okay, so this sector number is as per the NABET and the last column is as per the EIA notification 2006. So like this, all across India, you can get number of consultants who are accredited for a particular sector. For example, if I am a proponent for a thermal power plant, okay, so if I need to do a EIA project through a NABET accredited consultant, through this document, I can able to know who are the NABET accredited consultants for thermal power plant specifically, okay? And accordingly, I can decide my consultant whether he need to be in my state or he can be anywhere in India. So like that, I can decide and I can accordingly take the consultant for EIA studies. So this is how the project proponents will approach the NABET consultants. So that's the end of the QC process. And the next stage is the how to get the EIA projects. Okay, so how to normal accredited consultant to get the EIA projects. There are two ways. One is a self-approach, and the second is the through tender processing. Okay, so if you are well versed with your client or your customers, the customers will automatically approach you for doing the EIA. If that proponent is a private sector. Okay, so but for government, they have to go for a tender. That's a mandatory criteria for them. They have to publish a tender for that project, and they have to, undertake a meeting. They have to, process all the tender processes to get the right EIA person. The EIA consultant. Okay, so even that process they are doing in two ways. One is through e-tender or is the normal process. The normal process is like they will publish the tender in any of the mode. Either it may be there in their own website or in the national tendering portal or through e-paper, the newspaper they can publish. So, and the consultant need to meet all the criteria what they are mentioning. Okay, so when we are applying for any EIA project sector wise through tender, you need to first check whether that tender is a normal tender or an e-tender, which means normal tender you have to submit all those documents as mentioned in the tender conditions through a courier. Okay, but in e-tender you have to submit those documents through online. For that you need to be registered for that website in either in their own government website or in the national e-portal. So I will show you that as well. in further slides. Okay, so after that, you need to meet certain eligibility criteria to become the right EIA consultant for the project. So basically, what the government departments or the project proponents will mention in the common conditions eligibility criteria, what they will mention is the prime condition will be the NABAT accreditation. Okay, and NABAT accreditation for the sector specific. For example, either it is a ports and harbors, thermal power plant, mining. So they will mention that the accredited, the consultant shall have the NABAT accreditation for that particular sector. So that is the first condition the project proponent will mention. The second case, this is not there in all tender. This is the financial status of the consultant. Like they should have above more than 5 crores of profitability in last 5 years or last 3 years. So that kind of condition they will put just to limit the number of participants in the tendering process. So only the financial consultants, means only the consultants who have the financial status more than the profitable amount what they are mentioning, they can be participant in the tendering process. And then the professional experience in similar projects is that the statement will be like the consultant should complete a similar project with the capacity or with the name of the clearance. For example, if I am the proponent, I am publishing, I'm going to develop, say like a River Valley project or any SEZ. So I have to mention like a consultant should have completed and get clearance for, say, SEZ, that is the Special Economic Zone project, within the last 5 years or last 7 years. So that kind of condition will be there. And apart from that, there will be a capacity wise or the clearance wise. Clearances wise, some of the rare projects need to have additional clearances apart from environmental clearances. For example, forest clearance is there, wildlife clearance is there. So like that, if the project proponent project falls in any of those sensitive areas, any of the forest area or any of the wildlife sanctuary areas, then this condition will be added in the tender process. Okay, so only if you have already get the clearance, you can participate. Otherwise, you cannot be. You are not an eligible consultant to get the project. So this is how normally the tenders will be floated. Through the government departments. Either it is a electricity department or a public work department, PWD, or any government bodies who are developing the projects across India. They will put similar kind of conditions. These are the common conditions which they normally use in their tendering processes. Okay, and this is the web portal for the national. This is the national e-tender web portal where all the government tenders across India you will get in this portal. Okay, to get the details you need to register here. Okay, with the valid login ID and the email ID along with your digital signature, which means only the right person can log in and check all the details of the tender. Either it may be the owner of the company or the senior high tech level senior experts like general managers or the CEOs only can log in and see. So that kind of restrictions they have made, that this is not being just visible for all the publics, common peoples. Okay, so the tenders you will get, but for submitting you need a valid digital signature to submit through this e-portal. Either it belongs to a state e-portal or a national e-portal. You need to have a digital signature along with the valid registration ID and passwords. Okay, and similar to this national e-portal, every state has their own e-tender web portal. For Kerala, Tamil Nadu, or Maharashtra, they have their own web portal where they can see the tenders limited to within the state. And if you are in Tamil Nadu, you are looking for, you can check the Tamil Nadu website, or you can check the national websites as well. Okay, but here you will get the all the tenders across India, but here your tenders will be limited to the particular state. So that's the end of how to processing of the tender and the EIA projects acquisition. Okay, so coming to the EIA process, as you all are aware, the basic things, why we need to do the EIA and what is the EIA. So why we need to do the EIA? That is the two major cases. One is for the statutory requirement. That is must. That is the prime factor why we are doing EIA studies majorly. And the second case is the any research experts or any NGOs who are willing to know what kind of impact is there on a particular area, they can do the EIA. But that cannot be considered for getting the clearances from the MOEF or anything. Okay, that can be submitted to the MOEF stating that this industry is doing this kind of impacts over there, but it cannot be a valid EIA for getting the clearance. Okay, so if you need to get the clearances from MOEF, you need to undertake the EIA through the QCA NABARD accredited consultants only. Otherwise, your EIA will not be considered for giving clearances. And this is the EIA notification classes, what it says for various kind of sectors, for like highways or ports and harbors or mining industries. So even for building constructions, they have limitations. They have criteria for classifying the projects. Says like offshore, if offshore and onshore oil and gas exploration is there, all the projects need the clearances from the central level only. Okay, but in other projects there are category A projects, there are category B projects based on their capacity wise. Okay, if they propose so many capacity of project, that will comes under category B or category A, that we need to analyze, and further we need to process for the EIA as well as the clearances. Okay, some projects you have to get the clearance from MOEF only. Okay, even category A projects, you need to go to the state committee before going to the national committee, that is MOEF, to get the recommendation. It doesn't mean that all category A projects need not to go to state committee. Okay, for category B projects, you will get the final clearances from state itself. But for category A projects, you have to get the recommendation from state committee, and then you have to go to the national committee for getting your final clearance. Okay, so for category B projects, final clearance will be given by the states itself. But for category A projects, your final clearance will be issued from MOEF only. Okay, no state authorities have the right to give the final clearance for category A projects. Okay, unless there is a specific condition that the national committee is not available, or if the committee is need to be reconstituted, during that period, MOEF will give instructions to the state committee to issue the final clearances only to a certain period of time. So that is the rare cases happens when the committee is not available. Normal scenario, normal case, all category B projects will get final clearance from state level. All category A projects will get final clearance from the MOEF based on your state committee recommendation. Okay. And apart from that, while categorizing your projects, this particular thing you need to consider while categorizing your projects. For example, if you see the category of the projects listed here, like whether it is a mining of minerals or river valley projects or highway projects, ports and harbor projects, the last conditions, if any column, you need to notice that they will mention like general condition shall apply. Okay, general condition shall apply. This will be there for some of the cases, but not for all. Okay, for example, for ports and harbors, there is no general conditions. For airports, there is no general conditions. For shipbreaking yard, there is no general condition. General condition will not apply for that. But other projects, general conditions will apply. Why general conditions will apply? You just need to check. for example, your capacity decides your project categorization, whether it is category A or category B, as I mentioned before. Apart from this category, okay, this criteria, which means that capacity, you will need to check your general conditions as well. Okay, if general conditions meets, then your categorization will change. How it will change? You have to go through the general conditions that any project or activity specified in category B. Okay, for example, I am taking a mining project here. Okay, which means a category B project, which means the project of mining area which is less than 50 hectares. Okay, so I am going to propose a mining of less than 50 hectares, which means I can go for category B project. But I have some other scenarios in my project area. Category B will be treated as category A if located in whole or part within 10-kilometer boundary of, which means as per the Eia norms, you need to consider a 10-kilometer boundary from your project boundary. Okay, not from the project center of the site. It should be your boundary of the project. From your project boundary, you need to consider 10-kilometer radius, buffer radius. If that 10-kilometer includes any of the protected areas notified under the Wildlife Act 1972, that is any wildlife sanctuaries or any reserve forest, all those will come under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. And then any critically polluted areas as notified by CPCB. Okay, so CPCB has a separate guidelines which state that these are the areas which are highly polluted area. Okay, so if that areas comes within your 10-kilometer radius boundary, and if there is any eco-sensitive zones, so this is the special case apart from wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, these eco-sensitive zones are a buffer area from the national national sanctuaries or reserve forest boundary. For example, if there is a reserve forest away from your 10-kilometer radius boundary, but any sensitive areas will have a buffer area. So if that buffer area comes in your study area, then also it has to be considered as category A, irrespective of your capacity. And the other as last thing is your interstate boundary. If your study area is in the state boundary, then you need to consider your category B project as category A. So this will entirely change your process of EIA as well as the environmental clearance procedures. Okay, so when you are getting a project for conducting an EIA, you need to check, apart from the capacity, you need to check the general condition as well. If that general condition meets any one of this condition, then your project will become category A project irrespective of your capacity. Okay, so this is the most important condition while you are doing screening of your project. This is the general procedure or the format that any EIA report should have. Okay, and this is as per the EIA notification 2006. The main content of the report should have 12 chapters, and each chapter they have described and what details should be there in the particular chapter is there. It is clearly mentioned, it is clearly given what are all the factors and what are all the details should fall in which chapter. So that is clearly given here, including the executive summary of your EIA report. Okay, so totally your main EIA report should have 12 chapters, and your executive summary should have 7 chapters. Okay, so all these details you need to consider while preparing an EIA report. For example, introduction should have your purpose of the report, your project identification, your project brief, which is like your location, where it is and all, then scope of the study. And project description means your complete existing facility, including proposed project details, should come in your project description. For example, if there is a sugar industry, okay, the sugar industry is going for expansion project, so you need to consider your category first, whether it comes in category A or category B, and then you need to analyze the process of EIA. Then you need to check what is the process of any sugar industry. Okay, before preparing a EIA report, the EIA coordinator as well as the functional experts should know what is the process of industry. This is the major flaws that many of the consultants, do while preparing an EIA report. When I have personally have the experience while some of the EIA cases, even MOEF has sent to us directly based on our EIA report quality. Some of the project proponents have directly said that MOEF committee has recommended you, so that we want the recommend EIA has to be written by your organization. So that kind of credentials we have to do the EIA if you are doing well and good. Okay, so this is the very rare cases, and this is very highly considered quality that your EIA report speaks. So it is not just about the environmental. Okay, I am the environmental expert. I should know what is the impact kind of thing will happen to the particular sector. For example, I am the air quality expert. I need to consider only the impact of the emission level. Okay, if the emission levels are more than the limit, it is giving impact. If the emission levels are within the limit, it is not giving impact. Such statement is really worse, and they should not write it blindly. Okay, first, any of the EIA report prepared for any of sector, they should know what the sector will do in their process. That is the prime requirement for doing the EIA. Without understanding the process of the particular industry, you should not prepare the EIA report, because what kind of chemicals they are adding, what kind of process they are doing, what kind of manufacturing methodology they are following, unless you know their process, you will not be able to understand what kind of impact that will be given to the environment, okay, neighboring environment. Some of the industries impact will be localized. Some of the industries impact will be nationalized or globally. It will have a huge impact. Say thermal power plants, and the local, say a small sugar industry or something, there is a huge variation. Thermal power plant pollution will go up to 10 kilometers. Okay, while sugar industry's pollution will not reach up to 10 kilometers, but it will be a localized impact, say less than 5 kilometers. Okay, so accordingly, you need to understand your industrial process, like what kind of industry, what they are doing in their own process while preparing or manufacturing their products. Either it is a food and agro industries, any kind of industries, you need to understand that process thoroughly. You need to go through their methodology of manufacturing it, their products as well. Okay, what kind of chemicals they are adding, and how the ETP is operated. So all those aspects you need to follow, understand. So that detail should come in project description completely. The existing facility, what they are doing. Okay, and in addition, what they are proposing to, in addition to the existing facility. For example, either it may be just a capacity increase, or it may be just an addition to the manufacturing process. They may add one more product. So it may be either it's in a technical way or in a capacity way. You need to include what is the actual proposal for doing this EIA. So that should come in your project description. The third is the description of environment, which needs the site visit of both EIA coordinators as well as your functional area experts. All the team for the particular project should visit the site to understand the actual site scenario, to understand what the industry is doing exactly on the site, because client may give some data which may sometimes it will be same, but some cases they will manipulate and give it just to avoid the complications in their project study. Okay, so you need to check what actually they are doing at site. Otherwise, you cannot understand what impact is happening over there. So you need to analyze all the baseline environmental, starting from air, noise, your water, soil, meteorological conditions, the ecological aspects, and then your socio-economic perspective, what the local peoples are and how they are behaving with the industry, whether the industry is already having issues with the local peoples because of their pollution level or land acquisition level. So all these things you can understand only if you visit a site. Okay, so those details should come in your description of environment, and then based on the proposed activity as well as the existing environmental condition, you need to predict the future impact if what the industry will become when they have an additional capacity of so and so or an additional product of so and so. So what is the existing with the existing capacity? What is the impact with the additional capacity? What will be the impact? So if there is any severe cases of impact, you need to recheck your technology or the proposals. You need to recheck whether you can alter any changes or all those details. It has to come in the chapter 5. And then for having such impacts, you need to give a monitoring plan for both construction as well as the operation phase of the project. Okay, so while construction of the proposed activity, what are all the monitoring things they have to do, by whom? So all the complete monitoring program you need to give with each and every parameter and aspect wise. For example, air. If you are saying the air environment, they need to monitor certain parameters compulsorily while doing constructions. Okay, and similarly while doing operations. So like that, you need to give the basic conditions for environmental monitoring program. So after that, you need to do some more additional studies as part of the Eia notification 2006, which may be, as per Eia notification, it will be limited to these three. That is the social impact assessment, R&R, that is the rehabilitation studies. Okay, so if your project is a greenfield or you need to acquire more land, you need to do R&R action plans. That is the rehabilitation studies. So you have to do alternative provisions for the local publics if you are going to acquire the particular land. So definitely that the local people's livelihood will have an impact. So you need to give some alternatives, whether you pay additionally or you provide land somewhere else if there is a government project. So all those things we need to do. Okay, so then your project benefits, your cost benefit analysis, that is based on your proposal, how the best cost it should be in a safe and economical way also. Okay, so that's how you need to do the cost and benefit analysis, and then your environmental management plan. Okay, based on your anticipated future impact, predicted impact, you need to give a stringent, very focused statement of management plan to control the particular impact. It should not be a blind or general statement, because some reports have the EMP, but it will be very generous. So what will happen is you will get it caught in while the NABET is doing the analysis of your EIA report. So it won't be good, when you are if you are an EA coordinator and your report is reviewed by some of the experts in front of all your office staff members or the institute members, it will be, they will give an open statement that the report is good or bad. So you need to be very focused on each and every line that what you are including in your EIA report. So line by line, they will check. I have so many experiences on that. Okay, so be focused on your EMPs, especially for the functional area experts. And what happens when when in some of the organizations, EIA functional area experts will give some conditions stating based on the impact what they have analyzed. For example, the FAE for ecology and biodiversity, he is visiting a site, and based on the condition, the ecological condition, he is anticipating some impact through the proposed activity. Okay, so to mitigate, he will give some other stages of environmental management plan. But what he has given may not be, sometimes it will not be there in the EIA report. Okay, the EIA coordinator will change it. So these flaws will happen. So EFAs should be very cautious on what EIA report has been mentioned. It is nothing. It doesn't mean that FAE, once he give this particular section, he need not to be worried about the EIA report. Okay, you have to focus on the EIA report, whether what the data and what the details you have given, whether it is there in the EIA report or not, you need to check, because these are also the flaws of EIA report that normally has while auditing the inspected by the NABERT committee. And the summary and conclusion part and your disclosures. Okay, so this is how the EIA structure of EIA report should be there. And a summary of all these 12 chapters, you need to compile in 7 various chapters and need to give. Okay, so this summary should be prepared in both local languages as well as in English. This is as per the EIA notification 2006 for conducting your public consultation. Okay, all these 12 chapters need to be in English, but this particular summary, okay, summary of your EIA report, executive summary of your EIA report, should be prepared in 2 languages. One is the English, that's a general, and the next is your local language. If your EIA project is there in Gujarat, you have to prepare the executive summary in Gujarati as well, okay, to conduct the public consultation. Okay, that is the prime aspect, because the local people may not be educated to understand what you are going to put the what kind of project it is going to come up. Okay, so you need to prepare your executive summary with all the major aspects covered in the particular report, but both national and local languages. For preparing a EIA report, you need to follow the EIA notification. Apart from that, there is a sector-specific EIA manual published by MOEF. Okay, so for this is available for all the sectors, whether it is a mining industry or sugar industry or ports and harbors or paper and pulp industry. So any industry, if any kind of sectors you are interested to, you can get the EIA manual for the particular sector. Okay, you need to follow what is the guidance given in this manual as well, because chapter-wise, section-wise, they have given a detailed way of approach, methodology, everything here. Okay. Apart from that, as you know, as per the process of scoping, you need to get a terms of reference from the committee before conducting your EIA report. Okay. This is the additional site-specific conditions what project will be given under what project will be given the clearances. So before 2015, the EIA process will be like once the project is received by the EIA consultant, the consultant will fill the application form for getting the TOR. They will submit to the MOEF committee. So MOEF committee will go through all your applications and everything. If there is any gaps, they will seek the clarification as well. So once everything is set, they will conduct a meeting where the project proponent as well as the consultant should visit the MOEF office, and they have to present your project, what you are going to propose in front of the particular sector committee. Okay, whether it is a sugar industry or a paper and pulp industry or a ports and harbors, you need to present your proposal to get the TOR. Okay, this is at the initial, before starting your EIA project. This is the procedure you need to follow. But after 2015, what committee has done is, apart from that meeting, they have given a standard terms of reference for each sector wise, which means while coming to the committee itself, you should know what are the standard terms of reference you need to follow while preparing your EIA report. Okay, irrespective of the state, irrespective of your location, this is common. In addition to this, there may be some more additional conditions of TOR with the site specific. Okay, so now you will get 2 terms of reference. One is standard terms of reference, and the second is the site specific terms of reference. So after 2015, this is the procedure for any EIA report. You will get 2 terms of references. Okay, one is the standard terms of reference, and next is the site-specific terms of reference. In both terms of reference, whatever the conditions has been given, all those conditions should be met by the EIA consultant by preparing the EIA report. For example, I have given the some of the standard terms of reference for coal mining projects, and here this is for the chemical fertilizer projects. Okay, so these are the conditions they need to include in the EIA report. For example, a map specifying location, state, or district, that needs to be there. A land use map, it should be there in the EIA report. A contour map should be there in the EIA report, because for mining, contour map is very must. Okay, so for contour map, they should have a core zone as well as for 25 kilometer study area. Apart from 10 kilometer, they need to consider a 25 kilometer study area only for contour mapping. So these kind of specific conditions are there for sector-wise. These are the standard terms of reference. For any mining industry, coal mining industries, they should follow this standard terms of reference, apart from site-specific terms of reference as well. Okay. This is the additional notification what I have already explained in my previous session. That is the CRZ notification 2009. So why I am keep on telling about this is the additional condition what all the coastal based projects need to follow. Yeah, apart from the EIA notification, they have to consider this notification as well. Okay, before 2019 there was a previous notification in 2011. Okay, in 2011 they have published a CRZ notification. After that, the revised, updated notification has been given for CRZ in 2019. Like the draft EIA 2020 is debating right now. I hope everyone knows about it. So similarly, for CRZ also already a final notification has come. Draft has come. After that, final notification has come. Okay. So what the CRZ notification says, the zonations mainly, as I said, 500 meter from the high tide line is the coastal regulation zone. Within that 500 meter, they have subclassified into 4 categories. That is 1A, 1B, 3, 4. Okay, so like that they have categorized. So this notification you can get it in just by Google it. You can get the CRZ notification. Either it is 2011 or 2009. 2019 they have made some subclassifications in 2003. In 2011 there was only the CRZ 1, 1A, 1B, 2, 3, 4A, 4B. Okay, there was no 3A, 3B before in 2011. But in 2019 they have made subclassification of zone 3 as well. So zone 1 is your eco-sensitive areas. Zone 2 is your intertidal areas. Zone 1B is intertidal areas. Zone 2 is the already developed cities like Chennai or Mumbai, Goa. So those will come in zone 2. And zone 3 is the rural urban areas like coastal villages. So those will come in zone 3. And zone 4 is the coastal based water bodies. Like either it may be a river mouth or the intertidal flow of where up to the salinity of the water reaches more than 5 ppt. So that will come under water coastal based water body like estuary mouth or the river mouth flows parallel to the the coastal area will have the salinity of up to 5 ppt. Okay, so that water bodies will come also under CRZ 4, and the open ocean. So that will come under also CRZ 4. So these are the activities that are prohibited in CRZ. Apart from EIA notification, if you are developing any project in CRZ area, you need to consider whether your project comes in these 11 categories or not, such as setting up of new industries or expansion industries, operation process. It is prohibited. Okay. So all these things you need to consider for doing. Sorry, these are the activities which are permissible in the CRZ area, prohibiting the other cases. Okay. So next, the procedure need to follow in CRZ clearances. So these are the major procedure that you need to follow. Why we need to follow the CRZ notification is this condition number C. Okay, because as per EIA notification 2006, you will have normally any industries will have a normal EIA, which includes your baseline monitoring and then your impact assessment, EIA, EMP, everything will be there. But when coming to the coastal area developments, this particular condition, that is condition number C, will change your EIA itself, which means normal scenario of EIA is one season. Any one of the season, you need to conduct the baseline monitoring. Okay, but for the projects which are falling in the eroding zones, like if you propose any port in an area where the sea erosion, coastal erosion is already there, whether it is a low or medium erosion or high erosion. Okay, you need to consider 3 seasons of monitoring. Do you understand that? 3 seasons of monitoring, which means it's almost a year. You have to do the monitoring itself. After completion of baseline monitoring only, you will go for EIA process, the impact assessment, EMP, and everything. Okay, so this is how you need to consider. So this is basically, they call it as two general terms, that is the rapid EIA and comprehensive EIA. Okay, so rapid EIA means you will have to prepare an EIA with 1 season of monitoring, which means either you consider summer or post monsoon, but you should not do monitoring in the monsoon period for your site specific. Okay, you have to be very cautious on that. If you undertake baseline monitoring, that is water sampling, air sampling, soil sampling, even if it is marine water sample collection, monsoon season you should not conduct your baseline monitoring, baseline sampling, aspects. So that is as per the EIA as well as the MOF guidelines. You should not do more baseline monitoring during the monsoon season. For example, you do the baseline monitoring for northern areas. You should not do from say June, July to October. You cannot do the baseline monitoring. You have to wait for post monsoon or the pre monsoon. That is the summer season. You should do. Okay. For example, in Tamil Nadu, if you do, we have the maximum rainfall in October, November, December. So during this time, you should not do monitoring in Tamil Nadu projects which falls in Tamil Nadu, because we have major rainfall in this time seasons. That is the northeast monsoon and southwest monsoon. That's what you need to consider. So with 1 season baseline EIA is called the rapid EIA. With the 3 seasons, you need to do the comprehensive EIA with the cumulative of all the impacts you need to consider. Okay, so this is what they have mentioned here very clearly, that if the project is located in low and medium eroding structures, okay, this you can identify from the CZMP. That map also I will show you in further slides, how the eroding or accretion zones you can identify for any your projects. There is a map available prepared by the NCSCM. You can get it in their website, or if you require, I can share also, no issues. Okay, it's a freely available document. Okay, so this is why I need to. So I told that we need to consider the CRZ guidelines for preparing the EIA for coastal based projects. So this CRZ notification is not just only for getting clearance and additional clearance, it is for your EIA as well. Okay, so if your project falls in coastal zone, this CRZ notification attracts, and as per the CRZ notification, you need to do additional studies as well. That additional study is your CRZ mapping as well as the disaster management plan. Okay, so risk assessment normally any EIA notification will cover, but disaster management plan, many of the EIA will not be there. But if you do the coastal based process, definitely you need to do the disaster management plan as well. Okay, but that is not applicable for building projects or construction projects, say coastal resorts. You don't have to do the disaster management plan. You just have to follow the state disaster management plan itself. But if you have any specific industries in the coast, you should have a specific individual disaster management plan for your industry alone. Okay. Apart from that, CRZ map, that is the coastal regulation zone map, as I told in my previous session, this map should be prepared by any of that MOEF approved agency. 9 agencies are there, so you should get that map from any one of the agency. And if your project is having any wastewater discharges, then you need to get this concern, that NOC from your state pollution control board before going to clearance, or at least before starting your construction of the project, you should have that NOC in your hand if you have your any discharges. But right now, many of the projects has implemented ZLD industrial projects, except the thermal power plants and all. All the industries now ZLD practices going on. That is the zero liquid discharge, where any industry, they should not discharge your wastewater outside your project, your industrial premises. So whatever the wastewater you generate, you have to completely treat it and reuse it within your process itself. Either you reuse in your own manufacturing process, or you reuse for green belt development. Okay, but you should not discharge. This is the latest CPCB guidelines implemented 2 years back in India. Other countries already has implemented ZLD long back, but India has implemented recently, some 2-3 years back. So in recent years, there is no practice of ZLD. If any industry is doing, that is an illegal or it is a violation. You should check whether the industry is following the ZLD practice or not. Okay. So that is so far the general concerns are over. Now, if the time permits, I can go for the case study. Is that okay, Dr. Janathan? Can I proceed with the case study if I have the time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How long, sir, it will take? Yes, sir.
Maximum 10-15 minutes.
Oh, no problem. Yes, sir. Fantastic, sir. Fantastic, sir. Excellent presentation. Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So this is one of the project I have done in Gujarat. That is a port-based project, where this is an old port that this I have shown in my previous presentation as well. This is adjacent to the Little Run of Kutch. Okay, where the Gulf of Kutch starts. There, so that is the next to the Hanstal Creek. There you can have a small. You can see the small port-based facility. This was developed before independence by the Britishers. Later, all the ports has been taken care by the Gujarat Maritime Board. Any states has their own Maritime Board committee. Even Tamil Nadu has the Tamil Nadu Maritime Board. So like that, Gujarat has their own Gujarat Maritime Board, which is operating more than 10-15 ports in Gujarat state as well for cargo handling alone. Okay, but Tamil Nadu, we have very limited 1 or 2 ports only we have for cargo handling. Remainings are having for fisheries, fisheries department. So this particular project, what they are proposing is being an old port. Before British they have started. Till now they were practicing non-mechanized activities, which means all the operations they have to do manually. Like when they handle coal, they have to unload from ship, they have to put it on the berth. Then from berth, they have to transport to their backyard. That means the storage yard. So this is completely a manual process so far, which means they use the JCBs or the trucks, the 20 empty trucks or 40-ton trucks they use. So all those process gives a lot of pollution impacts over there, which resulted some injury cases. All those issues come up. So then, as per the guidelines by the LGT committee, the Gujarat Maritime Board has to develop this port into a mechanized port, which means they should put a complete mechanization process for starting from the unloading of coal to the storage yard. They have to do it through a hopper. They should have proper cranes. They should have a conveyor belt with proper hopper systems, everything. So that is what called mechanization. So as per the guidelines, the instructions given by the NGT, they have proposed this particular project, since they are putting mechanization, they have proposed for additional capacity as well. So which means they have the existing capacity is 4 million tons per annum, which they have proposed to do 20 million tons per annum. Okay, which is 5 times. So you need to consider that maximum capacity while categorizing your EIA. So as per capacity, as per the EIA notification 2006, this project has become from category B to category A because they are going to handle more than 5 MTPA. As per the EIA notification, less than 5 MTPA is category B. Okay, so more than 5 MTPA is category A. Apart from that, we need to consider whether the general conditions apply for this project. So we have done, and we have found there is a Marine National Park, Gulf of Kutch Marine National Park is there. Some of the wildlife sanctuaries are there. So this project specifically needs wildlife clearance as well. Okay, so this is the screening aspect of this particular project. So proposal activities, they want to do mechanization, as I said already. So capacity is getting increased. So to store their additional area, so means the additional cargo handling, they need to have additional area. So there in coastal area, they don't have a land acquisition process. So what all the ports normally will do is they will reclaim their land, which means they will increase their land area on the seaward side, by dumping the materials dredged from their own port area. So dredging is involved, reclamation is involved. Okay, so these are the activities proposed, and this is the location where the project